And professor at Hofstra Law. James, thank you for coming on. So how are these orders different from what the Supreme Court struck down not that long ago?
They're not that different, Perry, and if it feels a little bit like constitutional Groundhog Day, there is a reason. So just 5 weeks ago, the Supreme Court struck down President Trump's executive orders on birthright citizenship. There are some window dressing aspects of these executive orders that are slightly different, but the way I would characterize this is to put things into two buckets. Either the executive orders, the new executive orders, pertain to things that were already the law and they're just reiterating legal statutes that can be enforced by the federal government already, or they're in the different bucket, which is to say they're trying to reinterpret the Constitution again, which is, again, the same problem that the executive orders had the last time. There are two orders here. One narrows who the government will recognize as a citizen at birth. It no longer indicates that someone who travels here and gives birth while in the country would be giving birth to a citizen. That is exactly what was struck down. So that's in that bucket that is essentially the same as what was struck down last time. The other bucket is basically paperwork, and it allows the government to decline to grant the same paperwork to individuals that it carves out, in a sense, but that doesn't mean it takes away their citizenship.
This birth tourism is a new phrase. It seems like something that you would just find floating on X in the ether over there. Is it this widespread of an issue that this has to be done, or is this just the Trump administration kind of in their feelings after getting the loss from the Supreme Court?
It's certainly effective from a rhetorical standpoint, Perry. Penn State University did a study that came out almost commensurate with the Supreme Court's decision that found that the birthright tourism, or tourism in general, and tourists who give birth account for less than 1/3 of 1% of the births in the United States. Now, that number is not zero, and even Solicitor General John Sauer, Trump's own Solicitor General, defending the executive order before the Supreme Court, acknowledged in oral argument that even the administration doesn't have a good handle on the numbers. So it is a compelling argument from a rhetorical perspective to make this about birthright tourism, or birth tourism, as it were. But really, the government already has mechanisms in place, including at the consulate, including by prosecuting those businesses that are engaged in the fraudulent activity of birth tourism, and by increasing the reliability of the data in order to track birth tourism.
And this is bound to go to court. How do you think this is going to hold up in court?
I do not think that the Supreme Court will be amused to see such a similar order adopted by the president only 5 weeks after the Supreme Court said what it said. In fact, if you read Justice Alito's dissent, he says that the majority says that exactly what this executive order does is unconstitutional. In other words, even Justice Alito says that the majority's opinion would cover what these new executive orders cover.
James Sample, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
At least 6 people are dead and 15 injured after a shooting